the shadow of an extinct volcano resting on the banks of the River Tay sits the city of Dundee. Scotland's sunniest city, home of the dandy and the beano, famous for jute, jam and journalism, and home of Scotland's V&A Museum, a city steeped in history and culture. And unbelievably, the place where at one time there was one cinema for every 6,400 people, which is roughly one seat for every 7. From the first moving pictures shown in the city by Peter Feathers in 1896, right up to the heyday of Dundee's cinemas in the 1940s and 50s, Dundee was a city that loved going to the pictures. Working in the mills for 14 hours each day, the working class people of Dundee escaped into the cinemas, if only for a few hours. At one point there were 26 cinemas in the city, all in highly populated areas surrounding the factories, mills and foundries. In the 1960s, competition from television, among other things, led to the closure of many of Dundee's cinemas. Several books have been written about Dundee and its love of the cinema. Most of them reminisce about days gone by with stories from former patrons, children who loved the Saturday Cinema Club and have fond memories of exchanging twa geely jars for a penny seat, while others consider Dundee's movie house moguls, the Penny Cooks and J.B. Milne. But what about the man behind the projector?
I was signing on at the Employment Exchange, and the bloke behind the counter suggested, "Have you ever thought of being a cinema projectionist?" And I pricked my ears up. Well, fancy that, you know, because I've always been a cinema buff, you know, ever since I was little. So I trotted along and got the job. And that's how it all started. Because it was also exciting and new, and finding out what it was like, how the films were shown and all the rest of it. What power, you know. You've got all these people, you look through the porthole, like that, you know, you're looking down, see all the balcony, all the tops of their heads. You're standing between two projectors, and you're perfectly well. You do something wrong, they're going to know about it. There were loads of cinemas in Dundee, and there had been for several years. It was J.B. Milne who had the majority of the cinemas, and there were really only enlarged huts, really. The J.B. Milne cinemas, you had the barest minimum, you know, in all of them. They were decorated the same, they were all the same colour. It was all the same companies that put in the equipment. You went in one, you'd been in the lot. The people who went to these little J.B. Milne cinemas, they were going to see a film. They didn't worry about fancy properties all around, you know, as long as it was clean and basic and they were getting a comfy seat and watching a picture, that was fine. Each district had its own little cinema, you know. It was great. His best cinema was the Kinnaird in Bank Street. Now that was really nice. That was a nice cinema, the Kinnaird. Sorry when that closed.
With a cinema on almost every street corner, programming was very important. Newspaper adverts show that screenings were varied, with each cinema showing a different film.
It was very clever the way it was done. J.B. Milne was ordering the films, or his managers who worked for him chose the films carefully for the cinemas, because some of them were quite close together. They were all reruns, nothing new. See, the newer the film, the more expensive it is for the cinema to rent it. And the older the films that you see on the cinema is because they've got it cheap, you know, not spent much to get it. So it was all reruns, you know. Good pictures. Lots of them you like seeing again. Yeah, because you'd seen them all before. The cinemas in Dundee that were top class and showing new films were the Government, which later became the Odeon, in the Murraygate. the ABC Capitol in the Seagate, and sometimes Green's Playhouse in the Nethergate. Tivoli, of course, for the most part, showed ex-certificate films. It was 99% X-rated films, and it was 95% subtitled. You know? But I don't think many of the people were sitting watching reading the subtitles really. Maybe somewhere. The first JB Milne cinema I worked in was the Rex in Alexander Street. But the one I spent most time in was the Plaza in the Hilltown. The Plaza was a really nice cinema, especially in its early days, you know. Of course, after TV came in, audiences went down, so there wasn't the money coming in to keep the place nice. The Rex was very basic. It had what you needed to show the films that you were showing, and house lights and curtains, tabs that opened and shut. But that was your lot really, you know, nothing fancy. Because I was in a few of the projection rooms in the J. Milne cinemas, not to work on all, but saw what they had. All the projectors I knew fine were second or third hand. It still worked fine, everything worked fine, but you didn't have the stuff to really give a polished show, you know. It was all the basics. When I worked in the X, I mean, it was small, cramped. It had hardly room to swim, cat. Of course, everything went on. You had to do everything what you had to do, but there wasn't the space or the room. You couldn't turn around without bumping into something. And you got two projectors, a couple of feet, just about space for you to pass. And then you got your bench, you got your bins with all the reels in, you've got all your equipment on top of the bench, rewinding and all the rest of it. What I liked about the operating room is, especially when you were in charge, you could choose the way you did things. What colours you brought up on the lights, when you brought them down, the speed you brought them down, you know, the music you played. I tried to choose music which suited the films. Of course, as a projectionist, besides looking after the machines and the films and showing a good programme, there's so much you had to take care of the screen, the masking, the curtains, the tabs that are referred to. Make sure all the lights round about were in working order. Lots to do. At the end of each reel, of course, you've got your cue for starting your motor on the projector. A few seconds later, you've got your second cue where you switch, open the shutters for your projector and close them on the other one. So the person sitting in the seat watching the picture is just like an ordinary scene flick from one to another, you know. You don't know this is happening if it's done properly. Each Monday morning you were starting a new programme, which normally ran the whole week to Saturday. Saturday night you packed it up and it went away. Making up a programme was the best bit for me. I always enjoyed it. You were getting a good programme, full programme, you were getting your money's worth. You got your feature, you got your Berlin adverts, you got your trailers, you know, for the next week's films, and you got your supporting movie, the B movie. Making up the trailers was good. You got various titles, of course, next week or coming soon, because you had trailers sent to you, and that was the best bit, especially when CinemaScope came out first, because you had to remember you have the right lenses and go, the right aperture in the gate. You'd be showing next week lovely new CinemaScope picture, so you had to show that on one projector made up ready for CinemaScope to show that trailer. And as that was coming to an end, you were preparing the next one machine to take over to show the rest of the adverts and trailers that you wanted to show, which weren't CinemaScope at that time. See, it wasn't very long before the films were all CinemaScope that were shown, and it was just trailers and adverts that were still on the wide screen.
CinemaScope, Cinerama, 3D, Smell-O-Vision. These were just some of the gimmicks introduced by the film industry in an attempt to combat the increasing popularity of television.
In the beginning, when people were getting televisions, everybody watched anything and everything. It was fascinating. These pictures in your own living room, you may be only 12 or 14 inches wide, but it was in your own living room. When I started in the projection room, it was just people were starting to get televisions. Gradually, watching audiences dropped off, except really for a Saturday night. And then it was all young snogging couples. But then, as the years ticked over, big movies were made, like Cleopatra, big musicals, Carousel, Oklahoma, this kind of thing. The big screen, just the one picture show. That started to bring audiences back, because people got used to TV and were more discriminating about when they stayed in to watch the television or what went to the pictures. Not long after I left the Rex, of course, that shut down. Not long after I left the Plaza, that shut down. Not long after I left the Tivoli, that closed. It's just the times, By the time we went into the 60s, that's when they started closing down. Most of them converted to bingo for a while. The equipment was still there. It was still a cinema, but it wasn't used as a cinema. Used as a bingo hall. I've seen, of course, what goes on now in the modern cinema, in the projection rooms. Bear no resemblance at all to what went on back in the time I was there. Some of them, you've got your whole programme is on a disc. You just put in the disc, press the button, it all runs automatically, And it's not carbon rods either, burning in the arc. These huge holes. Fascinating. When you work in a cinema, of course, at times you're in the cinema, there is nobody else there. You've got this huge place. There's just you walking about, tending to your business. Maybe a couple of hours later on, the place would be crammed full of people. And you'd be responsible for what they saw on the screen. It was like that feeling. Yeah.